so happy to be here, and because I'm not feeling well, I'm a little extra emotional. But you know, I have 3 kids that are almost 17, 19, and 20, so the same ages as many of you in here. And this makes a mama so happy. You give me hope for the next generation worshiping Jesus. It's unbelievable.
Amen. So let's just get right. There's so much to talk about because you have done so many things. And so can we just start with Full House and Fuller House?
Sure.
Such a great gift. A lot of our students come from what I would consider, in a good way, a sheltered environment in their upbringing, where their parents actually said there are things you can watch and things you can't watch. Many of them, because your show was family friendly, ended up watching Full House a lot. Anybody here watch Full House a lot? And then for that to get a second wind and to have Fuller House, 8 seasons of Full House, 4 seasons of Fuller House, hopefully not done yet, hopefully coming back,
yeah.
We're hoping. And so tell us about the experience of that show and being on that show. How did you get on it? And yeah, tell the story of Full House and Fuller House to us.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I started acting when I was 5, and it was just because I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and it was like, you could go play soccer after school or take singing lessons, and I went and did commercials. It was just a little bit of a fluky thing. And you audition for things, and my brother as well, my brother Kirk, like he was on Growing Pains 2 years before I started Full House, but it's something as a kid when you're auditioning for a commercial, a television show, you don't know what you're getting into, you don't know what the show's really gonna be like. And so I feel like I could say I lucked out a lot, but I could also just see God's hand on it. And so I started that show when I was 10 years old, and I loved acting, and it was wonderful and fun, and it was just this amazing success that we all didn't think it would be, and we had no clue. But really, if you look at all the television shows out there, I was auditioning for all of them. So the fact that I got Full House has been unbelievable and a huge blessing. And to be able to come back 30 years later and be on Fuller House, The Next Generation, on Netflix is literally a dream come true. It's the biggest gift I've been given in my career, because I get to work with my best friends every day.
So obviously you don't do 8 seasons with some actors and actresses and not become family in your own sense off camera.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate each other that are working with on television shows. There was something in the air, like magical, when they cast us for Full House, because we are such a close family off stage and always have been for 30 years. And it really doesn't happen often, so it's pretty cool.
Do you think because you were such a united group all those 8 years, that made it easier for you to be able to do it again and do the Fuller House? Is that why everybody said yes to the idea of
Absolutely, because we had such a great experience, and we are such close friends, and so we were excited to go out and try to pitch Fuller House and see if they would bring this show back. And it took a few years, and Netflix was the last place we went to, and we thought it wasn't going to go, and then Netflix said yes.
It's a great show. We love it. We're hoping it'll be renewed again, right? It's been a success, but
yeah.
when do we find out if it's coming back for season 5?
We might have word pretty soon, maybe next week.
That's exciting. All right, awesome. Talk to us about your faith. I mean, you've always been very out loud, have used your platform to talk about Jesus Christ and the gospel. We'd love to hear about how you became a Christian, and then why your faith is such a pivotal, part of you using your platform to be a spotlight to Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I actually did not grow up in a Christian home. My mom was a believer. My dad didn't want anything to do with religion. But I was 12 years old the first time I ever went to church, and that's because my parents were having some trouble in their marriage. So a friend had invited them to go to church in hopes that it would help them out. But that was my introduction. I would say that I became a believer. I was saved at 12 years old. I got baptized. I was really excited about my life with Jesus. But at 12 years old, I didn't totally understand what that meant. And so I lived my life. Meanwhile, I'm on a successful television show. Now, I'm just one of those people that I had no desire to go down a dark road. I didn't want to get mixed up in drugs or choose bad friends. I'm like the good kid. Just that person. But my relationship with Jesus it didn't really flourish. I didn't actually have my own relationship with Christ and walk that walk and live for him. I didn't find my purpose in him until I was in my early 20s. And I had gotten married and had children. And once that happened, it changed my perspective. I was like, well, how am I going to raise my kids? And what do I really believe? And I don't open up a Bible. I don't really know what it says. I just know that God lives in my heart, and I can talk to him whenever I feel like it. But by that time, I hadn't been going to church and wasn't active in my faith. But it changed when I had kids. And that was also a transitional time in my life when I stopped working on Full House because I was married and had decided that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and raise my children. And it was the time that it was a difficult transition for me, having worked since I was 5 years old. And now here I am, a 22-year-old, which is like most of your lives are just getting started at 22. But I had lived this whole life in the workplace and then was becoming a stay-at-home mom. And it was really tough for me because so much of my identity and passion was wrapped up in work, and it's what I was known for. And then to go to the supermarket and have the butcher behind the counter say like, hey, when are you working on your next show, or what's the next movie? And I'm like, oh, I'm not working anymore. I'm pregnant and I'm having a baby and I'm married. And it was like, oh. And they kind of look at you like they're sorry for you, or maybe hopefully they just miss you on TV and want you to be on it. But it was a little bit like, oh, you had your run and now it's probably over. And it affected me. It was hard. But it was the time in my life that I grew immensely in my relationship with Jesus, because I really needed to find out who I was and not be only identified as an actress. As much as I loved it, I didn't get all the kudos and the pats on the back just from changing diapers. You know, the director wasn't telling me what a great job I was doing anymore. So that's when I started opening up my Bible through a series of events, which kind of led me there. I started thinking about spiritual things, and my walk forever changed at that moment. I can go into it a little bit more, but I don't know where I want to go into that.
It's so great to hear.
It was in my 20s. So it was about what?
No.
What'd you just say?
No. Go ahead, please. No, go. I thought you were done. I was going to go to the next question.
Go to the next question.
No. I want to stay right here.
I'll keep rambling.
No.
I'm like on Dayquil delay.
No, let's go back. I want to ask you. So God's word starts speaking to you. You start reading the word and you start submitting your life to the word. And on paper, it looked like maybe your career wasn't doing what you would want it to do. But off paper, that was the very thing God used to slow you down and to humble you before him. And so
yeah. Tell
us more about your faith. Trust me, they want to know about your walk with God more than, they want to know about the other stuff too, but this is what we love, to hear your testimony.
Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. So I just forgot what you asked me. except talk about your faith.
So you started reading the Bible, you started getting deeper and deeper in your faith.
Yeah, so the reason, this is what changed the gospel for me.
Yeah.
I had always thought I was such a good person. I never truly understood why I needed Jesus. Because I made pretty good choices, I could look at other people that were worse than me, making bad decisions, and I never understood that I was a sinner because I thought I was pretty good. So when the gospel message was presented to me in a way that held my goodness up against the law of God's goodness, I saw for the first time that I didn't even come close to being able to achieve what God considers goodness. I love this little analogy. I shared it the last time I was here, but it's like a little girl's looking at a white sheep as it ate green grass, and she thought how nice and white the sheep looked as it ate the green grass. And then it began to snow, and she thought how dirty the sheep looked against the white snow. But it was the same sheep, but it was a different background. So when we compare our sin to the standard of the world, we all come up reasonably clean. But when we compare our sin to the snow white righteousness of God's law, we'll see that we are filthy dirty.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed. And it was then I realized, oh, I do need Jesus because I don't hold up to God's standard. And if God is a holy God and a just judge, I am deserving of hell. And that got me thinking, and my eternity. And I thought, well, what am I left to do? And then I understood the good news, the gospel. Oh, but Jesus came, Jesus paid your fine, Jesus took all of your sin, heaped it upon himself, and was nailed to that cross, and willingly died. He took your punishment for you, suffered, and then rose, and 3 days later, and sits at the right hand of God.